Good idea.
And who's going to give Eva to be married to Ivan today?
I am her son, Debbie Maldonado.
Let us pray. Dear God, thank you for the opportunity we have to be here to celebrate this union of Ivan and Eva. Bless all of us and help us to learn with this. This is what we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. You may be seated. The ones who are going to be seated. We brother here don't see. Well, even Ivan, the date's here. Look around, take a look. I know it's a date, so look. Face each other right now. I want you guys to face each other. And I want you guys to look to the people in this room. They're here for you. They're here to say, yeah, there you go.
Give it to her.
Everything is all right. Thanks God we all got here safe and sound. And after all the preparation, everything, we're here. So take a deep breath and enjoy this moment because it is a very special one. I chose for the message today for this very special occasion. And I call it Jesus, it's party time. Because when Jesus is in the center of the marriage, the party never ends. And I was 21. And I will read the story from the Bible so we can all understand about it. It is the first miracle of Jesus. And it can be found in the Gospel of John, chapter 2, from verses 1 all the way to verse 12. The Bible says this, and I'm using the Message version. 3 days later, there was a wedding in the village of Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there. Jesus and his disciples were guests also. Like we're all guests in here today. So Jesus was there. When they started running low on wine at the wedding banquet, Jesus' mother told him, "They're just about out of wine." Jesus said, "Is that any of our business, mother? Yours or mine? This isn't my time. Don't push me." She went ahead anyway, telling the servants, "Whatever he tells you, do it." 6 stoneware water pots were there, used by the Jews for rituals washing. Each held 20 to 30 gallons of water. Jesus ordered the servants, "Fill the pots with water." And they filled it to the brim. "Now, fill your pitchers and take them to the host," Jesus said, and they did it. When the host tasted the water that had become wine, he didn't know that it was just happened, but the servants knew. He called out the bridegroom. "Everybody I know begins with their finest wines, and after the guests have had their fill, brings in the cheap stuff. But you have saved the best till now." This act in Cana of Galilee was the first sign Jesus gave, the first glimpse of his glory, and his disciples believed in him. All right, so what can we learn from this? Right? Lesson number 1, Jesus is not a party pooper. Can you repeat after me? Jesus is not a party pooper. Okay, I'll explain you why. Being with Jesus is not about being boring. Like Not all of us are called to be monks, but like monks in a monastery. Just pray your life. No, it's not. Inviting Jesus into your marriage doesn't mean it will be boring. If it is, you invited the wrong Jesus. Or you are not following him close enough. Know this about weddings when Jesus lived. Often they lasted for about a week or more. And it was an indulgence of eating, drinking, and wild celebration. I've been into a wedding in Morocco, and I can say to you, it's wild. They sing the whole night, and they go through, we eat a lot. It's amazing. Yet we often hear or make Jesus a sad person, suffering the whole time. Where do we get this idea from? From Christians, not from the Bible. Christ was in that party. They wanted Jesus to be there. They had no fear that he would be out of his element or fail to fit in, or that he would make others uncomfortable. Eva was a little bit worried about me here, right? Pastor, hey, this and this and that. Eva, don't worry. Jesus will be very comfortable here. As we invited him to be here, he's very comfortable here. Christ did not abstain himself from innocent human happiness, a fact that many of his followers have forgotten, with tragic results, making his religion a more rigorous and stern thing than he ever did. In plain English, some people do not want to become Christians because they think Jesus wants to rain on their parade. They think of Jesus as a party pooper. Jesus does his first miracle, and the party goes longer, and it's a better wine. Sounds awkward. This is scripture. It's not saying that it's okay to get drunk. Jesus didn't get drunk. But if you do, you don't have, that cannot stop you from becoming a follower of Jesus. And if you're a Christian and you still do, God may work on you about that. The point I'm making is being that Jesus is not boring. And the first point is invite him into your body every day. Lesson number 2. There will be a party with a lot and with a little. Can you repeat after me? There will be a party with a lot and with a little. Okay. The Bible does not explain why they ran out of wine. I want to make some points here. Number 1, my guess, the disciples did not RSVP. Now we all know it's RSVP, right? They didn't. Jesus got there with his disciples, and we don't know if they were ready for those type of disciples. Remember, they were men of life, fishermen, people that eat a lot. So probably they ran out of wine because people drank too much, so they did not RSVP. And the other guess that I can make is that they were very simple people and did not have extra money to pay for the overhead. Running out of wine was a big deal. Scholars believe weddings could go on for a week, and the wedding celebration was as much as honor as anything. We do not understand how important honor was in the time of Jesus. It would have been a major embarrassment for that family to run out of wine. They usually had 2 things to drink, wine and water. It is not only would it have been embarrassing for the family throwing the party to run out of wine, it would have been a horrible start for their wedding. Can you imagine for their marriage? Start with like, oh man, it was terrible that day, right? By the way, everything looks really good, really good. Everything looks organized, and you guys look amazing. So thank you for that. Thank you for preparing this for us. Okay, the point I want to make is this, that Jesus helped out in that situation because he cares about every single aspect of our life. Jesus cared for the negative and the positive, and even things that are not looking good or feel very negative about it. If Jesus is around, the party will go on with a lot or with a little. And in this case, he's caring by showing provision. He's providing. Jesus said, get the stones, water pots, which are ceremonial cleansing jars. There's one Bible commentary that says that a catering team would likely have been worried that Jesus was going to do some kind of ceremonial spiritual thing there. Some people, they say that. Instead of simply taking care of the problem. But what other choice did they have? Some of us They only need to hear this part of this message today. Because sometimes we call Jesus just when things are bad. But Jesus wants to work with us, even when things are good also. So if you are desperate, if you tried everything else, and you have nothing left to try, well, Jesus is your last chance. Lesson number 2, Jesus cares about every aspect of our lives. The good, the bad, and the ugly. He wants us to turn to Him with it all. Because He's not a party pooper, and where He is, the party will go on with a lot or with a little. Number 3, and the last one. The importance of the small things. Can you say that?
The importance of the small things.
The importance of the small things. Jesus does not open His ministry with a super miracle, announcing to the whole city. Probably a very simple party of people that couldn't even pay for enough wine. That much of exposure could even compromise the ministry of Jesus. That's why the affirmation, Mom, it's not my time. But she understands what He was trying to say. And she tells the servants, do whatever He says. When the master of ceremony tasted that wine, Jesus' wine, and did not know where it came from, but from the servants knew. The wine connoisseur, a sommelier, as they say, he could not pinpoint where was that wine from. You know, people that know wine, they drink a little and say, oh, this is from California, this is from Italy, this is Spanish. They could not say where that came from. But what they could say is this is the best wine I ever tasted. What I want to share with you about this is this. At this point of the party, the disaster became a blessing. The failure became victory. The affliction and anxiety became joy. The party is not over because Jesus is there. And I know that both of you went through a lot in your lives. And I know that stepping into this, it gives you that little bit of anxiety. Like, oh man, this time will it work? Well, remember, if we invite Jesus, He can work with you. And the party is not over because He pays attention to the small detail. The party goes on. So I want to give you some tips on that. Make it sacred. Make your marriage sacred. Don't share your little secrets with everyone. People will not understand your things. They are yours. Keep those inner jokes to yourself, to your team. This is something new. No one understands about your marriage. I know that sometimes people, they want to give us tips, right? Well, it's unique. I wouldn't even. It's unique. It's something new. It's something new. Notice the little things, Eva and Ivan. How often do miracles happen right under our noses and we don't know it? We don't notice them. There are an uncountable number of miracles happening at every single moment. Sometimes when I'm too worried, you know what I like to think? That the earth is spinning around the sun 100,000 miles per hour. And you don't even need to worry about that. So when problems come, remember that things are under control. And if you work as a team, things are going to work. Now, you are a team. So teamwork makes a dream work. How many times marriage is depicted as a war in between the boys and the girls and the new forms of marriage, you know, girls and girls and boys. So how many times people, they want to create a war in between people, right? No, don't get into that trap, Ivan. This is not a war, okay? And Ivan, I need to say to you that if you make this a war, you will always lose because the girls always want to win. Sorry to say that. We're having elections in Brazil, so whoever is elected, my wife is the boss in my home, so I don't care about whoever gets there. Do you understand this? Happy you are, because happy wife? You know that, right? So do it. Small details. Well, in Jesus-style marriage, the servants are always the winners. You see that most of the people, they don't know the miracle that's going on. But the servants know. This is a Jesus style. The last will be the first. The ones who are persecuted, dishonored, the ones who cry, the poor in spirit are going to receive a piece of the kingdom of heaven. Jesus later on, he says that even the prostitutes and tax collectors will get in heaven before the religious people. Because of that change of order on things. It's the ones who serve are the ones who are first. So, it still works today. Jesus raises the profiles of the servants. They thought it was only about filling the jars with water, but they were taking part in a miracle. Can you think about that? It's like, okay, we're just filling jars with water. So don't think as small things, and as you help each other at home, don't think as a small thing. Maybe a miracle will happen there. I want to finish saying this to you. John 15:15 says, I no longer call you servants, because a servant does not know what his master's business is. Instead, I have called you friends. For everything that I've learned from my Father, I have made known to you. Once the master lets you know what he's up to, once he gives you an assignment, once you're willing to be a servant, he turns the tables and you are no longer a simple servant. You have received a promotion. Even though you are still a servant, you are a servant and more. And he no longer calls you servant, he calls you friend. And not only does he call you a friend, he calls you his child. So whatever happens from now on, remember, invite Jesus to your marriage. Don't be afraid. Jesus is not a party pooper. With Jesus, the party is on with a lot or with a little. And with him, the little thing, the small things make great miracles. And as the years go by, the best is saved for the last.